Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my channel. Welcome to another video. This one should be pretty short and sweet. Just going to be using some symbolism to talk about regaining balance. And this symbolism can be used across all scales, ultimately, across any sort of measure in order to regain balance. Alright, without further ado, let's get started. So you've got three main principles here. You've got the producer or the producing principle, that which produces. You've got the consumer principle down here. And somewhere in between, there's various stages of balance, but right there in the middle, in the neutral, in the medium, is the actual balance. This is presented by the pH scale of water, ranging from 1 to 14, with 7 right in the middle, perfectly balanced pH, and that is the pH of water. But that is what it means to be like water. That is how one creates cash flow. That is how one deals with liquid assets and the current sea. Okay? Now, what happens if one finds themselves on one side of that scale? Say they find they're consuming too much. Let's put it in the perspective of food. If you're eating too much food, right, and you're collecting too much fat, so to speak, first and foremost, the solution comes in a few different stages. One, slow down your consumption, right? Say you're approaching that stop sign. Ever wonder why they color the stop sign red? The universal language of colors, right? Let's say you're approaching that going 80 miles an hour. Do you just slam on the brakes? No. That can lead to catastrophic failure of your vehicle. That can lead to you skidding out of control and crashing into something else or somebody else. It can lead to blowing a fuse as far as mentality goes, which is why it's not recommended to cold turkey any sort of psychotropic, mood or mind altering drugs. It's not recommended. Some people are strong enough to do that. Some people are good enough drivers to be able to, hit the brakes real hard. But the point is if you're going a certain direction, don't just slam on the brakes. Pump the brakes, slow down, and then come to a stop so you can change direction and alter your course. Now, it must be stated that the consumer depends upon the producer. So, the consumer is a dependent. Now, at the same time, the producer has no real purpose in its production without the consumer. So, consumer needs producer, producer ultimately needs the consumer. And that is the whole concept of the master-slave relationship. Okay? Now, does it mean that either one of these are wrong? Not necessarily, right? But the point is somewhere in the middle there's a balance where one is one's own producer and consumer, where they produce what it is that they consume. In other words, freely ye have received, freely give. And that is another word that is known in biology, basic science, as symbiosis. A symbiotic relationship, and ultimately the producer and the consumer have that same symbiotic relationship. It's expanded, right? But to try and have the producer without the consumer, or the consumer without the producer, just leads to issues. I mean, it kind of becomes a little bit pointless. As discussed before, the point of life is to learn how to die, and the point of death is to learn how to live. And if you don't have one, then the other loses its meaning. It's pointless, right? If you don't have death, right, then there is no real point to life. And if you don't have life, then death is just meaningless as well. But this is where we get the concept of true independence. That balance. And from that independence, one is able to go in any direction that they freely choose, ultimately. But the goal here is to bring that concept of the producer, right? That producing principle into the heart, so that way we are producing in abundance for ourselves and for our friends, for our families, for our communities. So that way we're part of the tight-knit, unified kind of group here. Unity consciousness, Christ consciousness. We're trying to be in unity here. And that depends upon, as discussed before, the three aspects of that, that holy triangle of unity, right? Where things kind of stick together. Where you've got truth, love, freedom. Now, in order to get there, it kind of needs a cooperative effort, and if people aren't willing to cooperate with one another, then, we'll forever stay in the grips of duality, in that unholy triangle, the unholy trinity, so to speak, where opposite of love, we get that hatred, that sort of duality, where it's really not even so much hatred, it's kind of selfish love, but there is even self-hatred too. And that's where the triangle even ceases to exist at that point. Opposite of truth, you get lies. Oh, well, I guess I can put it. Yeah, no, we'll put it over there. And opposite of freedom, you get slavery. So, ultimately, even still, this depends upon this, right? This unholy trinity depends upon the holy trinity for it to really be able to stay upright. And at the same time, without this as a reference point, this begins to lose its value. Without the sunshine, one does not appreciate the rain. And without the rain, one tends to lose appreciation for the sunshine. So I hope you got something out of this video. If you did, like, comment, subscribe. Please feel free to leave suggestions of any kind, questions, comments, concerns, anything. Feedback is welcome, So I hope everyone has a great day. Anyways.